Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call our November 19th meeting of the Board of Education together. We'll call it 6:03 p.m. If I could have a roll call, please.
Mr. Hernandez?
Here.
Ms. Champagne?
Here.
Ms. Stevens?
Here.
Mr. Cook?
Here.
Mr. Nordstrom?
Here. Thank you. Welcome, everybody. If you could please stand and join me in our Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Thank you. We're all mic'd up, so hopefully everything sound-wise is going to be good to go. Our next item is staff, student, and community celebrations. November ZB Pride. Like we have Principal Felsky.
All right. Good evening. Should I use this microphone?
Yes,
It's not. Is that on?
You have to use it.
It's not. Is it on?
Just turn it up.
Hello. Hello. Now it's on.
There you go.
Hello. Okay. Welcome, board. It's really on. All right. Tonight. You good on the sound?
Just keep talking, you're
All
good.
right, perfect. Okay, tonight I have a few honorees. It's my pleasure to bring up, I haven't been up for a while for the ZB Pride Award, but first and foremost, we'll start with our students. Tonight we have a couple students, and one has shown up tonight, but I want to just read why we are recognizing these. It's very important for this district. We have 4 students who reached national recognition by the College Board. Okay, so national recognition is really, it's a great thing. So the eligible students qualified based on strong academic performance reflected in their PSAT 10 or scores within the top 10% of test takers for each award program in the state, or they scored a 3 or higher on 2 or more AP exams. So there's a lot of numbers in there. Overall, though, awesome students who scored off the charts. So we did have 4 students total. Mario Guzman for the National First Generation Recognition, Grace Johnson, Sierra Linke in the National African American Recognition, and Mario Guzman again in the Hispanic Recognition. But tonight, in person, I would like to call up Jordan Lawrence. That is some handshake, Jordan.
Good job, Jordan.
All right, taking my arm off, Jordan. All right, but this is awesome. I really want to, I'm very proud to present this, that we have a national award winner in the building. And Jordan does so many other things in this school, and I love working with them. We're working on a new project too, right? Coming out soon. Just launched ZBTV, our first ever, right, with Dr. Bridge, and many of us collaborated. So great job. Unfortunately, you have to go though, right? Because you are going to work on your holiday spectacular practice, correct?
And a lot more.
And a lot more. Okay, so thank you so much for coming. Do you want to hang for just a minute though, right, before we leave? You just want our picture?
Good job, Jordan.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jordan. I don't know if you're getting out. Hang for a few more minutes. Okay.
Yeah, 10 minutes, yeah.
A few more. Man, he's tough. Okay. Now we have for our staff recognition. It is really my honor, and I'm really excited that I have this opportunity to bring up Mr. Chris Kubik. All right, we've worked together for a while, right? So I'm really proud. I'm really happy that I can share this and say all these great things about you. Okay? But Mr. Kubik is one of our most dedicated, passionate employees we have in the district. And now that I'm the principal here at ZB, I so appreciate you even more for everything that you do. But a couple notes about Chris Kubik. He definitely makes sure that he is providing learning opportunities for our students and for our staff. He hosts ZB Academies and ZB, what are we called here? They're called your ZB Universities. Most recently, I don't know if you heard, but Mr. Kubik was responsible for bringing a once-in-a-lifetime Holocaust survivor here that we had not too long ago through his connections in the community. That was awesome. Right now, currently in his classroom, his AP Psych are working in conjunction with the principal on school climate issues, and he has AP Psychology students teaching lessons to freshmen, correct? And he's working on that with us. He also makes sure that he works with the students and allows them a voice. He's very interested in making sure students have opportunities to scholarships, working with the Voice of Democracy, the American Legion Essay Contest, all kinds of things. So overall, you're just a great person to have working here as far as like everything you do for our students, our staff, and everybody. And I mean, I thank you, Chris Kubik, and I'm really proud of you.
Of course.
Okay, here we go.
I did say that one.
Mr. Weiler.
Yes, thank you, Board of Education. I'm really happy and honored to present our awardees for the ZB Pride Award. I'm going to start with our staff member, Matt Hutchison. Matt is a longtime social studies teacher at Zion Benton East High School. He coaches 3 sports. Currently coaching our varsity boys bowling team. He's also a golf and baseball coach. And he's well admired and respected by students and staff all across Zion Benton East. Matt started the year all excited about having a new prep as our freshman seminar teacher. And he spent the summer preparing for this new role, getting ready, getting lessons ready. And then in mid-August, his dream role of academic success coordinator position opened up, and he just couldn't help himself and to change gears. As the new principal, I interviewed Matt, and I instantly knew that he was the man for the job. Matt thrives on making a difference for students. He develops systems to make sure that he keeps up with all students who are struggling academically and with social emotional issues. He is a true advocate for students' well-being. He's also a true team player. He helped onboard our new freshman seminar teacher once we hired Dr. Medina, and he's eager to help out the school in any way he can if it involves boosting student success. Here's a quote from Mr. Davenport, speaking in support of, we call him affectionately Hutch. He says that Hutch has been a true partner in helping me meet our goal of keeping freshmen on track to graduate on time. English can be a particularly challenging subject for many students, and Hutch has just been awesome. He has shown the patience and dedication to students' academic and emotional well-being to be a great asset to our school for many years to come. Even though I constantly ask him to administer retake exams or work individually with disengaged students, he has never turned down a single request because he really cares about being a help. Matt, thanks for all you do to work with our students at ZB East. I'm so happy to have you on our team, and congratulations on receiving the ZB Pride Award. And now I'd like to invite Yvette Moore up for her award. Yvette Moore is a true leader at Zion Benton East High School. She does everything she can to make our school a better place. She participates in every school-wide event you can imagine. Every Spirit Day, she's like the best dressed student in our school. And she's always smiling, as you can see right now, spreading her positivity. She possesses the character of a true ZB. She's enrolled in dual credit and honors classes, currently having straight A's. She also has, there you go. And perfect attendance. And again, Mr. Davenport had something nice to say about Yvette, our freshman English teacher. He says that Yvette is a leader in her classes the moment she arrived at ZB East her freshman year. She's a junior now. And as a teacher, it's been awesome to see her continue to grow and develop as a leader. For example, last year, one of her classes put on a food fair featuring various kinds of diets. Yvette went above and beyond what most of her classmates provided and personally made a delicious and complex salad that she shared with members of her study hall the next period. And finally, this year, when I announced plans to restart student government, a club that had been dormant since COVID, Yvette immediately became a de facto leader of the club, organizing initiatives, including our first fundraising drive. She comes to me before school. She says, Mr. Weiland, I have this great idea for our school. What do you think of me doing this, that, and the other? I'm like, go with it, Yvette. She's got all this energy, and I love it. Yvette makes me smile as she welcomes me every morning and says hello to me in the hallway. I'm a pretty positive person, so for a student to brighten my day every day as the principal is quite an accomplishment. It's my pleasure to recognize Yvette Moore to receive this ZBE Student Pride Award. Good job, Yvette.
Good work, Yvette.
Thank you.
I'm happy. This is awesome. Nice job.
Okay. Thank you, principals. If our teachers and students, please come back. Our teachers and students that were recognized. Board of Education, you can join us here, this area. And then our teachers and students here. Administration, please stand, find a place. Teachers and students here, facing that way. Board, facing this way. Board members over there. Designated places here now.
Please.
Where does he want us?
I don't know.
Where should we stand here?
Wherever you want.
Dodgeball.
Right here, right there, exactly where you're at.
So today is another example of the excellent work, by our administrators. We have the best administrators, exemplary principals in our school district. Also the examples of our teachers. I have personally seen, these classrooms. I have personally engaged in conversations, with our teachers. So I'm very, 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 very proud of what you do each and every day. And then the results, our outcomes, what our students are able to perform. So on the board you see our Mission 2025. This is something that the Board of Education and I engaged back in 2019, 2020, in which we say 90% graduation is important, 90% freshman on track, 90% attendance, 90% teacher retention. We have met and achieved many of those goals under the strategic plan that we have as a school district. And that is the result of the work of you administrators, our teachers and staff, and the performance of you students. And thank you parents for the partnership, because it is because of you that we have such an amazing school district. Thank you, your partnership adds value. And now I'd like our HR department to bring something to celebrate. Yes, and in a couple minutes it will be cut, and then you're gonna have a quiz. But it happened in Zion Benton. Yes, 90% graduation. Yes, of course policies have to be changed. Of course grading practices have to be changed. Of course professional development took place. Of course we need to have a focus. Of course we had to fund a professional development plan for our staff members. Of course a strategic plan was developed. See, these changes happen by design. They don't happen by chance. And now the idea is, how do we take it to the next level? And how do we make sure that Zion Benton goes from good to great and from great to elite? And that is the idea here in Zion Benton. So we're not happy with this. There's more to be done. So again, thank you, educators, administrators, parents, and especially board members for setting direction, for making sure that that you have that, high expectations, and our community is benefiting from something spectacular. So I am very proud, and I thank you all again. And now, Ms. Marie, and let's go to the stage, and we'll take a picture, we'll have a little break, and celebrate and talk among one another. And again, once again, congratulations, congratulations. You are nothing but the best.
Yeah, we got
You got a piece of cake?
All right, we're going to start back with our agenda. Again, thank you and congratulations to our students, the hardworking students, and our staff. We'll be talking a little bit more later about some of the successes that we've been experiencing. Okay, that moves us on to communications from staff, guests, and district residents. Public comment section. Staff, guests, and district residents may address the Board of Education during the communications from staff, guests, and district residents portion of the agenda. We have names who are people who have signed in. Please also be informed that comments will be limited to 3 minutes per individual, and we'll try and give you a heads up if you start getting near the end of your 3 minutes. I'd like to start if you step up to the lectern and then state your name. We first have Blake Fortenberry.
There you go, Blake.
Good evening.
Evening. Can you guys hear me?
Is it on?
Well, there you go. Can you hear me?
Thank you.
I'm Blake Fortenberry. Okay. Recently, ZBTHS has received the commendable rating on the report card with an index score of 61.96. The index score is a blend of 8 key performance indicators: ELA proficiency, math proficiency, ELPTP, chronic absenteeism, climate survey, science proficiency, 9th grade on track, and graduation rate. Of these KPIs, the one that is weighted most heavily is graduation rate. A full 50% of the scoring is based on graduation rate. Zion's 4-year graduation rate was just shy of 90%, which is commendable. The remainder of the report tells a different story. 34% of students miss more than 10% of school days a year. That's chronic absenteeism. Only 7.2% of students achieve state standards for math. Zion has an average math SAT score of 407.5. Only 15.7% of students achieve state standards for ELA. Zion has an average ELA SAT score of 432.8. This is an aggregate score of 840.3. These are both improved year over year, but I'm just stating facts here. The state standard is a 540 in each of these tests for an aggregate score of 1080. The national average is a 1028. Although standardized tests are rightfully biased, not always the best indicator of academic achievement, they are the only objective measures with which the public can judge and understand school performance. According to the very same report card, only 47.8% of former students are enrolled in post-secondary education, advanced training, or military service. Our schools lag behind the state in post-secondary enrollment, and when they are enrolled, 40% of those in community colleges require remediation to get them the appropriate skill level. The data provided by the report card with regards to attendance, post-secondary achievement, and testing is incongruous with a 90% graduation rate. Zion Benton's stated vision is to empower students to thrive in today's global society. We are sending our students into the world as young adults without the skills they need to thrive in today's global society. I urge the board to speak truth to the current academic achievement and acknowledge the severity of the situation. Although these modest improvements are positive, our standards should be higher. The movement from the SAT to the ACT gives the district a unique opportunity to recalibrate and have open, frank, and straightforward expectations for student performance. I think this ties into what Dr. Rodriguez said about finding the next goal, right? Because And that's really what this is about, is we do need to prepare these young adults to go into the world and be successful. Did I speak correctly about SAT to ACT? We're going to ACT from SAT, just to make sure I'm clear on that. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Okay, next, George Foster.
Always remember to take off the headset before you walk away from the camera.
Good evening.
Good evening, George Foster. No? There we go, green light. Green light, okay. George Foster, Northpoint, you've seen me here before. Congratulate you first and foremost on all the achievements that you've identified tonight. Very commendable, especially for the students being recognized and the teachers as well.
You're not on, George.
Not on?
There you are.
Okay, now you can hear me now? Now you can hear me now. Also, I'd like to commend you for picking up the videotaping the meetings. Now, I think there was one committee meeting last week that we've looked to see if it was online. We haven't been able to find it yet, but I'm sure it's forthcoming. But at any rate, we're off to a good start to getting visibility, transparency, informing the community and so on. And I'm working with your staff, with the editor, with Sherry here. She's sending me stuff to put on my TV sets in the region to try to involve or educate or inform the community as to what's going on here, get them to your website or to your Facebook page or wherever she's going to drive them to, so that we can inform and educate and inspire the community to get more involved. So what's going on here. It's the future for our kids, you know, and they're going to have it a hell of a lot rougher than we did. So we need to give them a hand up, so to speak. The other thing, if you haven't seen it, it's not a counterinsurgent guerrilla warfare group. It's called ZBTHS. I don't know how many of you have seen it. But it's a website that we've created to basically, for Zion Benton citizens.
Overseeing public spending.
Okay, I dreamed it up and I can't remember the damn thing. But at any rate, it's designed to be a portal, if you will, to the community to feature all the videos that we have here that you guys produce and that I produce and so on relative to the school, and also a place to show agendas and meeting minutes and things like that to try to help again, to help you get your word out more, be transparent, get the community involved, and improve. So we appreciate your time, your efforts, and what you do here. We have a definite investment. You know, I've invested 40-some years in taxation here. You know, and I feel, for the most part, I've got a good return on my investment. Some of my kids that I hired over the years did very well. So, but I'm retired now, so I don't have to worry about that anymore. So, at any rate, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for helping get the word out through your different avenues. Okay, those are the names that I had that had signed in. I generally give an opportunity in case somebody hadn't signed in. Okay, all right, we will move on. To our consent agenda, do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda items as presented?
So moved. Second.
Motion by Ms. Champagne, second by Ms. Stevens. Any corrections or requests for a change? Hearing none, roll call please.
Mr. Cook? Ms. Stevens?
Aye.
Ms. Champagne?
Aye.
Mr. Benitez?
Aye.
Mr. Nordstrom?
Aye. Thank you. Brings us to our superintendent's report, Illinois report card, Dr. Rodriguez, and others.
Thank you, President Nordstrom. And today, you know, we come in front of you to talk about the state report card and to address the sense of urgency as it relates to you know, academic achievement, to also address the sense of urgency as it relates to chronic absenteeism and the plans that we have for that, and also to explain the progress made and how Zion Benton, as a community, not only our school district, you know, is making positive progress, and the idea that we must maintain that that trajectory. As mentioned before, a couple years ago, our singular goal was to ensure that students graduate college, career, and life ready. And with that, we established Goal 721, where we adopted a mindset that our students must have post-secondary plans where they are finishing high school and they are enlisted, enrolled, employed. So that word took over and it took off, and it has been very, very positive. And the idea that there's still more to do is true. I am not denying that. The idea that there's still more to do as it relates to academic achievement, it is also true. One of the goals for the board is to enhance academic achievement. And that is something that we have a very, very focused approach in our school district. And you are going to see year after year that our numbers will continue to get better. We also have as a goal that we ensure effective and efficient operations, from the boardroom to the classroom. And last but not least, that we empower students, staff, and community, as Mr. George indicated, to inform, educate, inspire the community. It is only through that approach that we're going to take it to the high level that I see our school district going. So again, that is important. And for that, we have engaged with other school districts. We have joint legacy statements. To your left, you will see that joint legacy statements for boards of education coming together and taking accountability for results. So this idea of shared responsibility is something that we have adopted as a community. It is the first time that we're able to celebrate together all of the middle schools that you see here in District 6, 3, 1, and 126 in the academic index had made progress. So that is positive. And what you do, what I want you to really focus on is the idea that there is progress, and how do you stay positive so that you can take it to the next level? Because through negative conversations, unfocused conversations, not inspiring our community, our staff, there will be regression. And that's something that you don't want. So again, as a community, we're challenging the boards to adopt these legacy statements, which they already did. And we have something positive happening in the community. So let's stay focused on that, and let's take it to the next level. So that's our foundational schools. We designed here in Zion Benton, this is 126, the different banners that we will soon print for each school district, so that we have, again, legacy statements for our boards of education, which are setting direction relative to the direction of every school district. So that is also positive. And see, I have the benefit of being here now for 5 years, living in the community. My students used to come here. We didn't have that before. We didn't have this type of partnership before. I had the opportunity to be a partner with our foundational schools. What we have now is very special. We have now is something that I believe, I know, we can take to the next level. So that is something that we're doing as boards. And now we're also looking at strategic plans. Every school district with a strategic plan. So we started that work years ago. And we indicated and we made a commitment that a strategic plan is not going to collect dust in a desk. We are going to talk about it. So if you remember in 2019, 2020, 2020, 2021, every board meeting we were talking about the strategic plan, our progress, and we adopted the idea of initiation, implementation, institutionalize, the chain process by Michael Fullan, all of the research, we talked about that. We talk about leadership in this district. So, and we started a strategic plan, which is now institutionalized. It is going to be expired in a couple months. We already started working with Mr. Benitez and his committee on a new one. So there will be a staff engagement, community engagement, board engagement in the new strategic plan. So that strategic plan, as you remember, has 6 goals. So again, we have an opportunity to do it again. We have an opportunity to look at the benchmarks that the community is interested in us pursuing, and let's go at it, and let's produce the results. So I am in 100% agreement with the public speakers about the fact that there's more work to be done. And you're going to hear that, because there is more work to be done. but we're ready for that. So that is something that we're doing collectively with other school districts, the journey of a strategic plan. This Vision 2030, our future cities, our foundational schools on the bottom, they're not feeders, they're foundational schools, taking responsibility for our students and their learning, regardless of what zip code they come from. So that is the Vision 2030 that we have, so that our students are college, life, and career ready. So that really is the work of our school district, that is the emphasis. And with me, I have Dr. DeGangi, who will talk about the report card, the results this year. But globally, I want you to know that I am very proud of you as a board for giving us the opportunity to collaborate with others and for being present and engaged in those meetings, for saying yes to many special meetings, for setting direction for our community. It was much needed. And again, the idea is that we continue in that journey together, a journey of excellence. Because excellence starts with us. Excellence is who we are. Excellence starts here. So, and success is contagious. So I just want you to know that there are many school districts looking at us, and many school districts working with us. We're not doing this in isolation. We're doing it as a collective group through collective efficacy. There's no more independent practitioners in their independent kingdoms working with the door closed. We are putting that information out there. We're transparent, and we look forward to making our school district the best that it can be. So with you, Dr. DeGangi.
Thank you, Dr. Rodriguez. My hope is that at this point, and Mr. Fortenberry shared some of that data already, and Dr. Bridge has been sending out some information related to our Illinois report card. As of October 30th, the Illinois report card went live at 9 a.m. As you know, and I shared last month, there are 5 different designations that school districts, schools can receive, and I am happy to report that both ZBTHS and Zion Benton East are, again, commendable schools. I will talk a little bit about those indicators tonight that are particularly emphasized in our strategic plan, but first wanted to recognize that, again, we are seeing some measurable progress, although I think to Dr. Rodriguez and Mr. Fortenberry's points, is that going to be anything for us to stop the work and to stop? We want to celebrate progress when it is made, because particularly in some of those academic indicators, to make significant progress takes time, a lot of hard work, and real intentionality, because moving indicators like proficiency, for example, it takes a good amount of work. But we do want to stop and celebrate that ZBTHS went from 56.12 to 61.96. And when you look at where the points were gained, there was a little bit in graduation rate because that continues to tip up. But most of those points were really gained from our 3 areas of proficiency. Similarly with ZB East, they went from a 77.84 to a 78.98. And again, that growth there was due to some increases in proficiency. So again, inching up, and it's as all those indicators come together to an overall index score, and then ultimately to an overall rating. As Dr. Rodriguez mentioned, all of these indicators are important to us. And so I know over the last several months and all last year, you heard a lot about the pathway to proficiency and the intentional work we were doing around SAT. The transition to ACT will allow us to do some intentional work there and to reset and to recalibrate, particularly because before the state moved to SAT, we had done a lot of really great and intentional work around ACT. And so again, it's an opportunity, but we are not taking our foot off the gas just because we're in a transition year. In fact, we're moving full speed ahead. But we know that there's lots and lots of work to be done, and that we want to make sure we're preparing our students each and every day to do their very best, because every one of these different indicators provides a different opportunity. Graduation rate is important. The reason the state had determined that it had 50% of weight, freshmen on track also has a significant amount of weight, because those are indicators within research that show, for example, when a student is on track as a freshman, they're more likely to graduate high school on time. Same with when a student graduates high school and then continues on into some form of employment, they earn more than they would if they hadn't graduated high school. So again, those are indicators that are also important, and for us, it's making sure that we look at the whole child and we're preparing students to graduate high school and be success in college, career, the military, even if, for example, they come below where they might need to be to get to that ultimate proficiency score. So I do want to stop and first look at sort of the 23 to 24, because as Dr. Rodriguez has mentioned many times, our strategic plan has been in place for 4 years now. So kind of want to do a little bit of celebration, what happened this year, and then I'll show you some data that show you where we've been over the last 4 or 5 years. So just some report card highlights. Obviously, ELA, math, and science proficiency are all up for us as a district. 3%, 1.5%, 19.7% for science. Graduation rate is up 1.5% as well. And then chronic absenteeism. We're going to talk a little bit about that. It'll be the last indicator I talk about tonight before I turn it over to our assistant principals. But chronic absenteeism along with proficiency are our 2 main focus areas this year. We know we have a lot of work to do on them. So again, even though we're in this transition year, we're keeping our foot on that gas and continuing to press forward. But I do want to take an opportunity to celebrate those increases or improvements, because at the end of the day, they don't come very easily, and our staff have worked really hard to start seeing some of this progress. So first, ELA proficiency. Again, when we look as a district, we don't have data from 2020 and 2021 due to COVID, but we're up about 3%. Math, we are up. We are down from 2022, but we are up since we started integrating our Pathway to Proficiency plan last year. The board, I know you've heard from me on several times throughout the summer and last year and during curriculum committee about a lot of the work that we need to be intentional around math. That is an area for us. We know we are focused on it. We know that we have a lot of work to do to make sure our kids are prepared, and again, that's why we're putting extra focus in it. But again, we are taking those wins as we see them, because we did see an increase last year, and we're really intentional about making sure that we provided additional support for mathematics. Science proficiency. While science wasn't assessed on the SAT, there is a statewide assessment that is used for science, and this is actually the first 3 years where I could say that assessment was the same. That is something that had been changed throughout the years the science assessment was developed by the state of Illinois. So again, really proud to see that progress and that jump. Obviously, you can see there from 21.3 to 41. In just 1 year is pretty significant, and really proud of that. And at Zion Benton East, when you look at going from 31 to 54.3%, they're actually quite close to that state average. So again, very proud of the gains that we're seeing in science as well. Graduation rate, again, just want to take an opportunity to celebrate this a little bit as well. You can kind of see that's been kind of measurable over time. It's been something that we're really working on when you talk about MTSS, when you talk about the work that our counselors do, when you talk about the work that our teachers do, as far as really just putting in that extra effort, making sure we're doing that post-secondary planning, making sure we're intervening when students are not on the path to success, and getting them to do their coursework and succeed in their coursework so that they can graduate and graduate on time. So again, that 89.6, if you have looked at the report card, does translate to that 90%. So we're very proud of that. 9th grade on track. I'm going to ask us to look holistically. 2024, we are down a little bit from 2023. We did expect a slight dip as we return to pre-COVID conditions and final exams. And again, 87.2 for 2024, we're still quite proud of. But again, we do want to still continue to work on that. And it'll continue regardless of where the report card goes to be a focus for us because of what research tells us about that freshman year. It's so important that students start their high school experience finding success and passing their courses. Not only does it help them learn how to become a student, but the research will show you students who are not on track after freshman year have a diminished likelihood of graduating high school. I do want to take a minute to talk about community college remediation and to be a little bit transparent about the measure. This is a measure that is reported 2 years out. So the class, the reason you see the latest school year on there would be 2022. That's this class of 2022. There's an overall remediation rate. That rate is fed by the reading, math, or communication. So if a student needs remediation in any one of those areas, they would fold into your overall rate. Now we are the maroon bars. So if you look at the class of 2018, it said Zion Benton District 126 had 66.9% remediation rate. That rate is down to 40.1. To Mr. Fortenberry's point, that's a very high rate. But here's something I want to share about that rate. This is reported by the Illinois Community College Board. When I've reached out to CLC, they don't have a communications requirement. For our students, it's reading and it's math. They don't have a separate communication, so my CLC counterparts can't tell me why that even exists. And these data are not reported by us. What I can tell you that our students are assessed on when they enter our dual credit courses is college and career readiness for math or college and career readiness for what they call reading and writing readiness, which is the reading. And if you take a look at our numbers there, we're again the maroon bars. If you look at math before the institution of transitional math, we were at 47.9, we're at 15.4%. In fact, we're lower than the state average. So we've done so much work, and I'm really proud of that work around transitional math. Reading, we're virtually non-existent. So I will be honest, that overall rate, of course, it's too high. Right now, I want to fix it. I can't even get an answer on how to fix it because we don't report it. And our community college that we work with tells me we don't have a communications. And said they were looking into that. But the things I do know when we are assessing our students to go into our dual credit classes, when we are assessing our students to start at CLC when they go there, and that is the institution that is most selected by our student body compared to other institutions. Those are the things that we're working on. So again, that doesn't mean I'm going to stop looking into or trying to figure out how that is factoring in, but particularly proud of that math rate because we've done a lot of significant work to get that to 15%. And last but not least, chronic absenteeism. We know we need our students here and ready to learn in order to keep improving achievement levels. Still very high, 31.1%. Dr. Rodriguez and I, and I'm not even, we've had how many meetings of talking about attendance because we want to stay laser focused on it. We know that we want our kids here every day and ready to learn, but we do want to take a moment. There's been some great work going on, and you're going to hear from our assistant principals behind me that that work is continuing and being developed even more into some very great systems to get our kids here. But again, still small incremental progress that we're making. We are higher than the state, but the state is also very high too. This has been a state and national epidemic, really, that we're looking at. We want our kids in school. So here to talk a little bit about some of the progress we're making with chronic absenteeism are our two assistant principals, Dr. Brown and Mr. Isaacs.
Good evening, board. So up until now in our presentation, we've learned about the remarkable collaboration with our foundational districts through legacy states. We've learned about the increased proficiency in student performances, especially in ELA, science, and math. We've learned about how our district report card boasts a 90% attendance rate as well as an over 90% staff retention rate. For the next several slides, my counterpart and I, Mr. Mike Isaacs, will present to the board our 2025 Attendance Matter Campaign update. So along the pathway to proficiency, we recognize that chronic absenteeism is the single most significant barrier to student success. So that's so much, in fact, that we've developed two particular teams to help us address this matter. The first team is our core team, which meets which meets once a week. And that core team has three primary functions. The first function is to disaggregate data as it pertains to attendance, to provide targeted interventions that pertain to attendance, and then also, number three, to provide incentives for positive attendance. So our core team members are comprised of the assistant principal, myself, who leads the charge, as well as Mr. Isaacs, who leads the charge at Zion Benton East, our dean secretaries, our behavior interventionists, language liaison, and department chairs. Our second team is our extended team. Now their responsibility is to take the findings of our core team and bring those to our building at large. That extended team is comprised of our core team, plus additional counselors, additional department chairs, an SRO. Our SRO, our Officer Robles, in the future will include both teachers and peers. At Zion Benton East, the core team premise is the same. There are some different players based on the needs of that particular building. Those additional players are like the family engagement specialist or the academic success coordinator, and they also use their assistant director of safety as needed. So when I talked to you all about the first team, the core team, which meets weekly, we talked to you about how data is one of those foundational areas that we look into. And so there are many data points that we look on at the daily and also the weekly. Some of those are cumulative absences, so every student that has one or more absence is identified daily. We have consecutive day absences report. We have a daily absence report by period that helps us to understand when students are in the building where they are, but more importantly, where they are not. And we also have same-day building attendance. That's a year-to-date, and that's also done at the weekly. Now, it's particularly important for us to emphasize that while we look at all attendance, unexcused absences is our main focus. Because attendance matters, we love to celebrate. So what you're looking at are September and October attendance incentive raffle winners. These students had perfect attendance. Now, this isn't all the students who had perfect attendance in September, October. We raffled off probably about 100 students, and these are a couple students that won. So what you'll see them proudly holding up is a season pass for all home games, Zion Benton home games that was dedicated by our athletic department. So we appreciate you, Mr. Neely, for your collaboration. So in our next slide, Mr. Isaacs is going to talk to us from a macro point of where our attendance tiers look at, or our attendance tiers lay at, and then we'll talk to you from a micro standpoint of what targeted interventions are inside of those particular tiers.
Thank you, Dr. Brown. I'll be talking kind of about the framework of the Attendance Matters campaign and the work that we've been doing really since we got into this last year. So working in collaboration with Dr. Brown and our Attendance Matters teams, we've really developed a case management tiered approach to this chronic absenteeism problem that we have focused on. Students are identified, as Dr. Brown said, through data and trends and placed onto this tier system. One thing of note at the top, we at Zion Benton East are piloting this year a new and innovative approach in what we're calling the watch list, where we're identifying students a little bit earlier and utilizing our small building to have really personalized contacts, phone calls home, being able to utilize that data in almost real time to make touch points at home to see if there's obstacles that we're not aware of to help clear so that attendance, so students can get into school. For example, we had an issue with a senior who wasn't able to get to school because they had some busing mixed up. We were able to clear that transportation issue up, and that senior's been in school every day since. So being able to make those personalized contacts is something we like to leverage at East. Getting into a little bit more detail regarding our green tier, once students find themselves engaged into our Attendance Matters campaign, this is where they're going to start. Students and families will receive mailings regarding their current attendance, why attendance is important, why attendance matters, as well as tools and advice about how they can better support their student at home. The goal in the green tier is to connect with students and families to again understand obstacles that might be in the way and what we need to do to best support them. Ideally, all of our students will stay in the green tier. That's going to be 9 absences or less. However, as students continue to accumulate absences, they'll move into our yellow tier, which is going to be from 10 to 17 absences. Interventions become more intensive in our yellow tier. We begin using certified letters to be sent home as part of our documentation process for potential referrals for truancy. We begin having parent meetings with our attendance teams, and these are going to serve to bring all stakeholders together, parents, students, as well as those attendance teams, in order to set concrete expectations or set additional expectations. From there, and there are examples as well of the letters that get sent home, breaking down the Attendance Matters campaign, why attendance is important, and then data specific to where that student is in their attendance. From there, unfortunately, we will have students moving into our red tier, which is at 18 or more days. This is when they do have that designation of chronically absent. We continue to maintain contact with parents and students because while the student may be identified as chronically absent, we still want to support that student to succeed in the classroom because we ultimately still want to see them off the stage at day 721. So even though they count against our metric for chronic absenteeism, that's still a student that we need to see succeed. So we're going to continue leveraging the relationships that we've built as that student progresses through those tiers. Sharing in some celebrations for Zion Benton East. Last week, we hosted an all-school assembly, one of the first ones in a long time, since at least before COVID. It was focused on school pride, but we took the opportunity to promote attendance and celebrate two groups of students. First, we recognized students that have perfect attendance on a per-month basis. So we were recognizing students that had perfect attendance in the month of October. Additionally, we were able to recognize students that were on that watch list that have turned that trend around. So we are looking for improvement in those attendance metrics for those students that are identified on the watch list.
And carrying on with Mr. Isaacs, we do promote attendance incentives. We look at these things from a monthly standpoint. We're looking for 90% attendance recognition. We're also tracking the students monthly for perfect attendance, and those are the student raffles that you see to the left. And then we also have advisory attendance contests where we have students perform for what we call a Zion Benton Pride bracelet. So every student that reaches a 90% at the end of Friday gets that bracelet, and then they get thrown into a raffle where they win bigger prizes. Now to kind of look at the data more specifically, it might make sense to look at it from a year to date. So this is current data as of October 15th. On the right is the 2025 attendance campaign, and this is broken down by classes. And as you can see, we're tracking right around the same rate as we were this time last year, but there is still much work to do. Let's take a look at Zion Benton East data.
So as you can see here, a vast majority of Zion Benton East students are in that green tier, or quite frankly are not engaged in the Attendance Matters campaign really in any fashion. One thing to highlight here is that we see some similarity in the year-to-date looking at particularly the cohort class of 2025, but overall we're seeing improvements in that year-over-year analysis from last year to date to this year to date.
We'll conclude by this slide alone. This is what we want to do. We want to celebrate positive attendance. When students have negative attendance and those behaviors change, we want to celebrate them. When students are at 90% or 100% attendance rate, we want to celebrate them. So this is where we want to be at all times, and that concludes our portion of the presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Brown. Mr. Isaacs. I just want to thank you both for the work that you're doing with your staffs. I know that it's no easy feat to work on chronic absenteeism, but we know that we need our students here and ready to learn. So I will just close it out by, again, we do want to take a moment, and we have been taking this moment with our staffs as well to celebrate the progress we are making at the same time and institutionalizing those practices that have been positive for students. But at the same time, we know that our work is not done. We know that we need to continue to be intentional about the areas where we want to see improvement. And for us this year, that's our pathway to proficiency that will continue. Just had to take a little bit of a turn as the state transitioned the assessment for us, but we're doing a significant amount of work to prepare for that. And then again, as you heard from our assistant principals, really focusing on getting our students here and ready to learn. Thank you.
We move along. Dr. Brown and Mr. Isaacs, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the excellent work. We had meetings in my office, and I was supposed to say a couple things. And I thank you for keeping me in that shirt. I thank you, because I mean, it was a plan. You know, you met and surpassed the expectation, and I thank you for excellent work. Because a vision without a plan is just a fantasy. A vision without a plan is an illusion. It's just a hallucination. It's just a wish. So we need to have plans. If we have a vision for improvement, there must be a plan behind it. And our plan this year, we started with a very, very rigorous plan where adult learning and children learning, you know, those systems are important, with technology as our treatment, our intervention. So systems for adult and student learning with technology integration. That's really the work that we have done, and that's really where we're going in investing, going into new platforms, new equipment, new professional development, new expectations. This idea that high standards start here. And that idea, as it relates to academic achievement, is a strong focus for the administration. So we'll continue with the other plan that we have for you, and it is information around the facilities master plan, which you approved not even a couple months ago, last month. So we have this facilities master plan approved by the board, so that we can start looking at the future of our school district, the next 5 to 10 years. And with that, I mean, Ms. Moreno and her team, administrators, others are working closely with architects. So she'll give us an update about the facilities master plan.
Thank you. Good evening, Board of Education members. So as Dr. Rodriguez mentioned, last month you approved our recommendation to develop a 10-year facility master plan. Since then, we've had a few meetings where we have identified the process that we're going to be utilizing to develop that plan. So on this slide up here, you'll see that the master planning process has been broken up into 3 phases. In phase 1, we'll be identifying our needs, and we're going to do that by collecting data and ensuring that our stakeholders have the opportunity to give us feedback. Phase 2, we're going to be developing options to meet those needs, and at the end of phase 3, we're going to be giving the Board of Education a final recommendation. So as administration, our charge is to develop a comprehensive long-range facility master plan with one best scenario for recommendation to the school board. The final product will be that District 126 will have a comprehensive long-range facility master plan to accommodate enrollment, instruction, programs, and support over the next 10 years that is financially sustainable. So the next couple of slides will focus on our district and community outreach strategy. And already we've held a few meetings for internal stakeholders where the overarching themes have been facility challenges, student engagement opportunities, and discussions around creating a future-focused environment. So for staff who were not able to make it to those in-person meetings, we did develop an electronic feedback form that Dr. Pavelchik will be sending by the end of this week. And that's also something that we're going to be providing for our community when we hold those town hall meetings. Finally, here we have the facility master plan schedule, which Dr. Rodriguez, you're going to give us an update on this section here.
Yes, so this schedule, includes the different meetings that we will be having. It will be, I think it's already posted on the website, or if not, I mean, it is posted on the website. And it gives us an opportunity to engage students, staff, community members. But now for community members, I would like to highlight these meetings that are coming up. So December 3rd, here, we will have a community engagement session. December 5th, CBEs. February 3rd, here, and then February 4th, CBEs. From 5:30 to 7 o'clock, it will be an opportunity to engage the community in these town hall meetings. But in addition to community, again, we're also seeking out the feedback from staff, students, administrators. And the idea is to provide you with a plan for the next 5 to 10 years in which, based on funding, you can decide to execute or put a pause if needed. There will also be a health, life, safety, plan survey that we're conducting, which will be embedded, will be included with the facilities master plan, so that we are efficient in how we use our resources.
Additionally, Dr. Bridge and her team will be live streaming these town hall meetings, so that will also give another opportunity for our stakeholders to engage in the process. And again, we'll be probably posting on the website an electronic form to ensure that we receive as much feedback as we possibly can.
Yep. So, thank you, Ms. Moreno. And that concludes the superintendent's report. And as you know, we have a instructional an operational team, in this administration working, hard to make sure that we secure the best possible future for our school district. And before we go into our reports and discussion, we do have a folder for you. Okay, it's in your it's in front of you. You can please grab that folder. And in that folder, you do have information about our professional development opportunity this week for the board and administration. So that is the first document that you see there. And then you also have a memo from me about an event that Ms. Champagne and I attended with our mayors. So basically, it's notes from the meeting in which each mayor from the different villages and the city of Zion discuss their plans, economic development, how the future for their respective communities is looking like, and the celebrations. So I provided you with a memo. Any questions, please reach out to me or Ms. Champagne. We were in attendance in that meeting along with some administrators. And then I also have another memo for you about the budget carousel process. So we engaged in those meetings, I think it was yesterday. Yes, yesterday. And so I provide you with an overview, big picture of ideas so that we can engage in this process. In the next couple months, we will bring to you a budget for FY26. So we start this process early on. There's not, here in Zion Benton, we don't copy and paste the budget. We have a budget that supports the strategic plan and the vision of the Board of Education. So we do fund the plan, and we ensure that funding goes into the areas of which you deem important and priorities. So that, again, the memo just explains the first meeting that we had. We have a second meeting December 6th and a third meeting December 16th, with administration. So we will engage in that process, and then second semester we will bring to you a proposed budget for consideration. So that concludes the superintendent's report.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the board? Okay. ZB principal report, ZB East principal report, are they in our packet or, okay. We don't get to hear from you again?
Not today.
Okay. Thank you for all the work that you're doing and telling us about in your written reports. That brings us to board committee reports. Business Bid Finance Committee, that is me. Business Bid Finance Committee met last Tuesday, and as is usual, the items that we hear about are going to be taken up largely here this evening. That includes the FY 23-24 audit, public hearing for interfund transfer, public hearing truth in taxation, 2024 tax levy certificate, working cash abatement for capital projects, and FY 25 school maintenance project grant. And we also heard about our capital improvements update and the facilities master plan update that we just went through. Are there any questions for me? All right. That takes us to our long range planning committee report with Mr. Benitez.
The long range committee met on last Thursday, the 14th, and I'm pleased with the results of our meeting. We came together with a shared commitment to shaping the future of the district through active listening, open dialogue, and collaboration. We analyzed our current strategic plan and worked together to shape our next one. We have a solid foundation, and we'll continue to build on the 6 goals that have guided us thus far. Understanding consistency is critical for long-term impact. I'm proud of the direction that the board has set and the progress we've made. We are committed to working alongside administration, faculty, staff, and our community to ensure continued success. That's it.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Benitez? All right. We will move on to new business. IASB resolution and direction for the delegate voting. This is the time each year where we consider the work that's done by the IASB Resolutions Committee and the recommendations they make on certain resolutions that the delegate assembly will take up at the joint conference next week, or actually this weekend. And Ms. Champagne is our delegate from the board who will be representing us at that assembly. So I'll turn it over to her to talk about some of the items that will be considered, and then after that we will work through a process to consider a motion to give her direction on how to vote for those items.
Thank you. I'm going to touch on each item, very briefly recap it, and then we can discuss if anybody has any questions. The first one is dual language, and that is to make sure that we are aligned, or all schools are aligned with the Illinois State Seal of Biliteracy, that we fulfill that language requirement. Number 2, EBF authorized charter school funding. They would like this, the proposal is that EBF funding also apply to charter schools. And then there's TIF accountability. And this is a reform to the TIF process which prioritizes greater accountability to the taxpayers. Faith's Law, number 4, is going to be a centralized database to do background checks instead of multiple databases. Number 5, healthcare coverage is to see that there is equitable insurance coverage for all school staff. Number 6, polling places. This is an amendment that if a school is not a polling place, it can remain open on voting days. There are resolutions eligible for appeal. I'm not going to touch on those unless somebody wants to discuss it. Does anybody have any questions or opinions about how we should vote on these resolutions that the IASB suggests that we approve?
What I'll be doing is, unless I hear from one of the members that asks to consider one of the items separately, the motion that I'll ask for will be to take the recommendations from the Resolutions Committee for the items that Ms. Champagne just mentioned and the others that were in our packet that are not being recommended by the Resolutions Committee. I'll take them all up as one, unless I hear somebody wants to discuss an item individually and vote on it separately.
I'd like to pull item number 2.
Okay. Item number 2 is?
EBF authorized charter school funding.
Okay. Okay, so we will consider that separately. Do you want to talk about that one item?
Yes. The IASB's position is that EBF funding should follow the student to charter schools. I don't like that idea because some charter schools are private, they're for-profit, and it takes money away from public schools. And this can get out of hand. It's gotten out of hand in Arizona where the education budget has almost been completely drained, funding tuition checks to students who have never set foot in public schools. This is a parent's choice to send their child to a charter school. Public schools are available, and I would much rather see the money going to a public school. I have also not done a comprehensive survey on statistics, but I have compared some, and from what I have seen, charter schools, regardless of what they say about lotteries, end up with the better performing students. They have fewer ESL students, they have fewer homeless students, they have fewer students of color, they have fewer students with disabilities. When they leave these students who need extra help in public schools and take money away from them, we have less money to help these students. So I am opposed to this. I agree with every other resolution here, but I am opposed to taking EBF funding away from public schools.
Yes, President Nordstrom, members of the board. Ms. Champagne and I had a conversation about this. And the truth of the matter is that what she's talking about is something that does happen in many places as it relates to charter schools. But you also have charter schools that are public schools, as well. So you have this idea of for-profit, and then you have this idea of providing a fair public education. So what happens is that when they put this together, it is organizing all charter schools. So unfortunately, those charter schools that are public schools, and they operate with a contract with the school district, and they follow the same rules, and they have unions, and they're very similar to a regular school, will be negatively affected if this doesn't happen, because they do exist. So, and also there's this idea with, especially with charters, because you have a contract with the district, that you have more autonomy on who comes into your school. There are cities in which by the third Friday, you get an allocation of dollars for the school district, and they keep the students for 3-4 weeks, and then after that, they come to the public schools. And that is what you see in some cities like Chicago, Milwaukee, Arizona. So there's a lot of controversy with it, but there's also, I must say, I've been in the field, and also supervise charter schools, that there are some charter schools that do an excellent job, and they are public schools, working in collaboration with the school district in a contract where they even have a union. So unfortunately here it's all charter schools, as Ms. Champagne indicated.
Before there, anybody else want to comment on that one before I say anything about it? I guess I took the wording of the resolution and the support for the resolution from the resolutions committee to be that charter schools would receive the evidence-based funding based on the same considerations as any other school that's receiving as evidence-based funding. So though I appreciate what you're saying about how some schools might be at other advantages or disadvantages based on the way a charter school might operate, overall, I guess I'm in support of it based on the way I interpret the recommendation.
And that's how it reads, and that's exactly what it is, to ensure that there's an equitable process, fair process in providing funding, for all students. But unfortunately, what Ms. Champagne, mentioned, what I mentioned as well, does happen, and it's unfortunate that those charter schools that are doing the right thing, as per my opinion, are attached, to the whole group. So, yeah. So I am not sure, honestly, how much political movement this has as it relates to the addition and the increase of evidence-based funding. I'm not aware, I'm not sure, but I can tell you that there's a proposal to increase evidence-based from 350 to about 700,000. 700 million. I correct that, so 700. So that is only a proposal. As we know, it's been documented that the state of Illinois has approximately a $3 billion deficit that they have to address. But education being a priority, and again, those interest groups, seeking more funding for schools, I am not sure how much of that has to do with number 2, but I just want to put it out there.
That's item number 2. Is there any other item, either items 1 through 6 that are listed as do adopt?
Ms. Champagne, could I just intercede something here on this tax instrument financing? Does that have to go through? Is there a problem with accountability on that?
Well, I don't want to engage too much.
That's why I asked Ms. Champagne.
Well, we normally wouldn't be engaging back and forth right now, but the information is posted and available. We can make sure that you have that information that describes what the district that was recommending the resolution, what their justification was, and how the Rules Committee for IASB took it, and how they're recommending that it be adopted. To try and make sure that...
Not for that TIF, you wouldn't have any business in this town,
Oh,
doing anything.
The TIF recommendation here is about statewide treatment of TIFs and how it could or would affect schools. So it's not specific to us.
you guys.
Everything here is relative to the entire state.
Yes. Okay? And we can make sure you have more information on that as needed. So was there any other item of the ones that were listed in our packet that people would like to consider separately? Okay. Hearing none, then I guess I'd like to make a recommendation or ask for a motion to accept items 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 as presented in the packet with the recommendations suggested by the Resolutions Committee.
So move. Second.
Motion by Ms. Champagne, second by Ms. Stephen. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Ms. Stephen?
Aye.
Mr. Cook?
Aye.
Ms. Champagne?
Aye.
Mr. Benitez?
Aye.
Mr. Nordstrom?
Aye. Thank you. And for the item that was pulled for separate consideration regarding evidence-based funding authorized charter school funding, do I have a motion to accept the recommendation of the of the Resolution Committee, which was to adopt the resolution that was submitted?
So move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion by Ms. Champagne, second by Ms. Stephen. Any questions?
Yes, President Nordstrom, I'd like to thank Ms. Champagne for stretching my thinking and making my day fun in discussions relative to business. So thank you for the dialogue. Thank you for stretching my thinking and really making me think about this.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Benitez?
No.
Ms. Champagne?
Nay.
Ms. Stephen?
Nay.
Mr. Cook?
Nay.
Mr. Nordstrom?
Aye. Thank you. All right, so now we have the direction from Ms. Champagne on how to vote for each of these items when it comes to the debate on Friday? Saturday. Moving on, next item. First reading, Press Plus 115 through 116. Is that
Yeah.
Mr. Carlson?
I'll take that. So this is the first reading to update school policy. It's 28 pages. We won't read through line by line. It is there for the board to review and to take a look at. At the end of each of them, they give you a little overview. It's called press comments. Ultimately, most of these policies are updating language or dates have changed, things of that nature. So there's no real significant change to the things that we do here at Zion Benton. A couple of policies that are in there speak to things we've been doing for years. And so kind of catching the state up to what we're doing. So this is the first reading for the board to take a look at, to take action on next month.
Okay, unless there are questions from anybody now, as Mr. Carlson suggests, this is our first reading, so we aren't taking any action. If you have any questions between now and next month, please raise them so that we can have information or conversation before we take a vote. Okay, moving on. Conduct public hearing for the purpose of interfund transfers. So, do I have a motion to open our public hearing for the purpose of considering interfund transfers?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Benitez, second by Ms. Champagne. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Mr. Benitez?
Aye.
Ms. Champagne?
Aye.
Ms. Stevens?
Aye.
Mr. Cook? Mr. Nordstrom?
Aye. Thank you. Dr. Wilkinson.
Yes, thank you, President Nordstrom, Board of Education, and other administrators. Tonight, we're conducting a public hearing to authorize an interfund transfer. The interfund transfer is a continuation of the board's approved 5-year financial plan to continue to make strategic investments to bring these facilities, both here at this campus and the ZB East campus, up to 21st century standards. This action tonight will be a 3-step process. We will be conducting this public hearing as we are doing right now. then the next step will be to approve the resolution to transfer $3 million from the education fund to the operation and maintenance fund. And then at that point, the next step, the final and third step, will be to approve a resolution to do an accounting transfer to permanently transfer $4 million from the O&M fund into the capital improvements fund. And again, these dollars are planned as part of your strategic plan and our 5-year financial plan to continue with making investments, strategic investments in these facilities for the future. So at this point, that's what we're asking the board for consideration.
Okay. Thank you. And we will take each of those items up shortly, but this is the public hearing. So we had nobody sign up for public comment. So I want to pause and make sure, is there anybody who wanted to speak? Hearing none? Okay.
I'm going to say it. You've heard me before on this. My name is Larry. Oh, thank you. My name is Larry Stevens. You guys have heard me all talk about this before. This interfund transfers that you've done in the past 5 years has accumulated to many, many, many millions of dollars. You know, that is in exchange for referendums. You're letting 6, 7, 10 people make decisions for 50,000 people in this district. We can't afford that. You know, everybody in this room, at least 90%, can afford the tax increases that you're proposing tonight. There are thousands of people out there that can't. The cost of living is less than 3%. And you're applauding yourself for not taking the full 105%. Instead, you're only taking 104.6. Doesn't make sense, folks. We can't afford this. The community can't afford it. The Taxing District Act. If you noticed in Chicago, they voted down a property tax increase unanimously. That's never happened in Chicago. Everybody's suffering. Nobody can afford their taxes, and yet we sit here smugly saying we're going to take it less than 105%. But we're still going to take it out of everybody's pockets. There are people out here in Social Security that are selling their life insurance policies to pay their doggone taxes. That ain't right. And it starts here. It has to start someplace. And why not here?
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, hearing none, do I have a motion to close the public hearing for the purpose of the interfund transfers?
So move.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Champagne, second by Ms. Steven. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Mr. Cook?
Aye.
Ms. Steven?
Aye.
Ms. Champagne? Aye. Mr. Benitez?
Aye.
Mr. Nordstrom?
Aye. Thank you. Brings us to the next item, approval of resolution authorizing section 17-2A interfund transfer. Anything else to say, Dr. Wilkins? I guess I will say that the work that the district has been doing and the district's financial transparency has been on display for longer than just the last 5 years. We've been able to do rather significant improvements to the district and improvements to the educational structure that we have within our means. And the description of how we are, the description of how we are characterizing the levy versus the funds that we actually request when it comes time to approve the budget are very different things. So I think that I'd like to thank Dr. Wilkinson for continuing to help us present things as clearly as we can so we're making informed decisions. And at that, I'd ask if we have a motion to accept the superintendent's recommendation to approve the resolution authorizing section 17-2 interfund transfer for $3 million as presented.
So move.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Champagne, second by Mr. Benitez. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Ms. Champagne?
Aye.
Ms. Stevens?
Aye.
Mr. Cook?
Aye.
Mr. Benitez?
Aye.
Mr. Nordstrom?
Aye. Thank you. Next item, approval of accounting transfer to capital projects fund. This brings us to the next step of the process as was described. So do I have a motion to accept the superintendent's recommendation to approve the resolution authorizing accounting transfer of capital funds, project funds for $4 million as presented?
So moved. Second.
Motion by Ms. Stevens, second by Ms. Champagne. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Ms. Stevens?
Aye.
Mr. Cook?
Aye.
Mr. Benitez?
Aye.
Ms. Champagne?
Aye.
Mr. Nordstrom?
Aye. Thank you. Next item, approval of resolution abating the working cash fund for capital projects.
Yes, thank you, President Nordstrom and Board of Education. This resolution permanently abating the working cash fund will assist in capital projects for the district. Typically, we retain 10% of our savings account in our expenditures. When we exclude our construction and one-time grants, leaves us with about 55 million in expenditures. So in anticipation of where we plan to end on June 30th, 2025, we will be at approximately $5.3 million. So that's within that 10% range. We typically keep our working cash fund, which is your rainy day savings fund, keep that balance at around $5 million. So with this transfer of $2 million, we'll go from a planned budget of $7.3 million to $5.3 approximately this year, keeping that 10% range in place.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to accept the superintendent's recommendation to approve the resolution abating the working cash fund for capital projects for $2 million as presented?
So moved. Second.
Motion by Ms. Champagne, second by Ms. Stevens. Any questions for Dr. Wilkinson? Roll call, please.
Mr. Benitez?
Aye.
Ms. Champagne?
Aye.
Ms. Stevens?
Aye.
Mr. Cook?
Aye.
Mr. Nordstrom?
Aye. Thank you. Next item, conduct public hearing for the purpose of the 2024 tax levy. Do I have a motion to open the public hearing or go into the public hearing for purpose of the 2024 tax levy?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Benitez, second by Ms. Champagne. Any questions? Okay, roll call, please.
Ms. Stevens?
Aye.
Mr. Cook?
Aye.
Ms. Champagne?
Aye.
Mr. Benitez?
Aye.
Mr. Nordstrom?
Aye. Thank you. Dr. Wilkinson.
Yes, thank you, President Nordstrom and Board of Education. Tonight, we talked about the 2024 tax levy. You can basically see on the slide here, the tax levy is our determination of need. It's the local revenue funding sources, which is our largest source of revenue locally for funding the district. The district is under the Property Tax Extension Limitation Law, also known as PTEL, which basically limits the growth of what you can tax as a body to CPI plus any new construction or new developments that are built within the Zion School District boundaries. Increasing the aggregate levy more than 105% requires, over the prior year extension, requires a truth in taxation hearing. Tonight, I'm glad to say, last year's levy, we did it 8.83%. This year's levy will be 4.61%, significantly less. And that's basically driven by the CPI because it's come down from 5% to 3.4%. So the range in which we can request in terms of dollars for the district has gone down, as it should, as we're following the PTEL law. And tonight you'll see when we get into it a little further that recommendation will actually pull you back when you get into the spring to around 3.9%, potentially. You're making the decision tonight based on estimates that we received from the county. So you make the decision tonight, but you don't hear the results until the final extensions are received in the spring. So we've kind of covered ourselves in terms of the hope that we can get the numbers in. We don't want to leave any resources that are on the table that we are eligible to collect under the law. Again, these are historically the district has levied over the extension just a bit because we are making that decision on estimates. But again, you get pulled back to whatever the extension allows. So that's just a way to hedge, your levy to make sure that you're entitled to all the resources that you're legally entitled to. The district will only receive those funds based on actual EAB or that's requested. So I've always made that statement. The levy is what you ask for. The extension is what you receive, and they are never the same because that time frame between tonight and the spring, those estimates go up and down, and hopefully, we will end up covered by increasing that levy just a little bit to make sure that we're eligible for those funds in the spring. I typically show this slide every year. This is the EAV per pupil. And EAV is Equalized Assessed Evaluation for the board and the community's knowledge. That's basically the resources that are available within the school district boundaries. And you can see that the small blue line there is Zion Benton Township High School compared to all the other high schools in Lake County. So what that graph tells you is that we have the lowest EAV or the lowest pot of resources available for our students. And typically what happens if you have the lowest resources, you probably have the highest tax rate because there's not enough to, there's limited amounts of ability to share the cost of those services. And I'm proud to say that Zion Benton Township High School no longer has the highest tax rate in the county. Grace Lake School District now has that title because we, or you, the Board of Education, has continually worked to try to keep bringing that tax rate down. We've done that consciously in terms of the abatements that have been made over the last several years. So again, it's tough when you're at the bottom of the resources to not have that high rate, but you can, as you can see, Grace Lake had more resources than us, but now they have the higher rate, so we continue to work on bringing that tax rate down. I would also point out too, in the area in the pink, if you look across the high school districts in the county, you can see we have the largest span for pink, which is special education. So we're committing a lot of, or more of our resources, even though we have the lowest value of resources in the county, we're dedicating the highest level for our special needs students. So I think that should be commended by the Board of Education to recognize that those students are special and they need that extra help, and you are fulfilling that obligation. So kudos to the board. This shows the historical range of the tax rate. You can see in 2015 we were at our highest rate at $5.30, and we've come down now to $3.40. So a significant decrease over in terms of when you look at our tax rate history that we have records to going back to 1961. I mean, we've come a long way in the last several years here to bring that down. So we're really pleased about that as well. So here's the tax levy certificate. This is basically the certificate that we will forward to the, if approved tonight by the board, to the Lake County Clerk's Office with your intentions of making your determination of need of resources that we need for the coming school year. And that's just a little bit over $31 million. No, and that's all we have there.
You can
Sorry.
go back. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, Stephen.
Okay, so Dr. Wilson.
Yes, ma'am.
If we approve your proposal of the levy, what can we do to ensure that the lowest tax rate is possible for our residents?
Okay, so we've got an option there. Well, one, you've already taken action on it your September board meeting. You approved your application, I'm sorry, your October board meeting, you approved your application for the property tax relief grant. So we're hoping that we became eligible. Remember last year we were off by 4 school districts. So next year we're hoping that we might get picked up again so that we may then abate those taxes that we are collecting, which then again drives down our tax rate. So that's one thing that we can do. And and we're waiting to see the results on that. The board itself, you in your 5-year financial plan that you've approved have already committed to $900,000 per year of abatement. That doesn't come from any grant from the state or anything that you're getting assistance on or anything like that. Those are real dollars for this district that you're giving up to continue that decline in the tax rate. And so we have that opportunity, plus, you know, the board can decide to abate more if it chooses to do so, or even if we get that property tax relief grant where we know we've got something coming in to kind of supplant what we reduce, we have that option as well too. And we can make that decision. The results of the property tax relief grant usually come in around end of January, early February. And that's typically at the time where the board would then approve another resolution to abate and further return those tax dollars back to the community. Does that make sense? Yes, ma'am.
A couple things. Last year, our tax levy was 8.8%.
Correct.
What was our assessed rate?
Right around 4.5, 4.6.
Yeah.
So it was half of what you,
half.
and you did that through the abatement process by abating those dollars and bringing it down.
And we're doing that because there's a reciprocal relationship between the EAV and the tax rate.
That's correct.
And we don't know what the EAV is going to be right now.
Well, we have an estimate. We have a
an
guess.
estimate, but it could drop.
It could. It could.
And it could leave us in the holes. So we will adjust with abatements, basically to drop this down to.
We'll take a look at that, and really the big indicator is, do you get that property tax relief grant or not? Because that could triple what you could potentially abate.
And this $900,000 is from the CJA funding, correct?
Well, yes and no.
Okay.
You're going to use those funds from CJA for the construction project that we have planned for this summer. Okay, and then by using those funds, that releases other funds that you can take out of your bond and interest fund that you're abating. So you're saying, okay, we're going to use the CJA fund to pay for that construction, but then we're going to take our other existing funds that we have in our bond and interest fund and say, no, we're abating that and returning it back to the community.
And we can do that because we already have the money to do this construction project regardless.
Correct.
We're not going out and asking for more money.
No.
We have this money, so when we get it refunded, we can then abate it to the.
The district is in a very good situation, and yeah, you're solvent, and you have some fund balances to extend out, because remember, the CJA grant is a reimbursement. So
Correct.
you have to spend the 3.2, 3.4 million, and then wait about 6 to 7 months to get all that money back. So having the resources in your fund balance to take advantage of those grants is an excellent position for this Board of Education to be in.
I agree, thank you.
Yes, sir.
I'm just going to pause this for a second. I want to make sure that we continue with the public hearing portion of what you're having to say. Allow for the public hearing to occur. And then if there are further questions from the board, I want to make sure we do it when we get to the next item.
Absolutely.
Anything else, Dr. Wilson?
No, I don't.
Okay. So, nobody had signed up for this part of our agenda for the public hearing, but again, I'll offer, does anybody wish to make a statement as part of the public hearing? Mr. Fortenberry.
Yes, hello, it's me, Blake. I'm here again. I have a question of Dr. Wilkinson with regards to the rate. So my understanding
Am I
is...
taking questions, or are we just getting comments?
Yeah, we'll pose your question and we'll see what we can do.
Yeah, for sure. I think that my understanding of the way property taxes are calculated is they just take the extension, divide it by all of the assessed property values, the ABs, pro rata, here's your portion. That's pretty simplified.
Approximately, yeah, but that's capital, new capital development, those types of things.
Correct. So the rate's just a plug, right? It gets us to it's not really a rate
It's the only thing the school district has control over. That Board of Education can decide to make abatements, which makes that rate go lower.
Correct.
Okay.
I guess
So we can't control what the county assesses to individual taxpayers. We have no control over that.
Of course. I think that it gets foggy. Because it's not, people think about rate, you think of like what they pay on in their income tax. It doesn't function exactly like that. Because even if our housing values were half of what they are, we'd still be on the hook for the exact same amount of property taxes. Am I understanding this correctly? If everybody's value of their home was half of what it is today, we'd still be on the hook for the same amount. And again, I'm not complaining about it, I just want to make sure that we don't conflate things. Because everybody's home values are up, so just, if your home value doubles, but your taxes stay the same, then the rate's just gonna come down, right? That's the way math works. So in this case, like, the rate's going down, sure. My house got assessed 18% higher year over year. Okay, so that, my taxes are gonna go up even if you guys have dropped your rate. Like, just, and that's okay, like, I understand that. But we really need to speak to that and be very clear and explain that, right? Because percentages are weird, and you can make numbers work however they want, but that's the reality of the situation is some people's taxes are gonna go up, some people's are gonna go down. My rate went up 18%, or my assessed value went up 18%, someone's might have gone up 6%. Well, the way it works is I'm gonna get more of that, anything extra that we've extended to the community.
Yeah.
And I just wanna make sure that we're clear that, like, I appreciate you guys looking at abatements, and I'm sure everybody does, because anything can help, 100%. If I get $200 back, fantastic. That's $200 I can use to pay for expensive dog food for my dog because he's spoiled. But just I think we need to make sure that we simplify this so taxpayers really understand, because I don't think a lot of times we do understand where our money goes. We just know we get a check and we have to pay it. Or it's rolled into our mortgage and we just pay it and our mortgage goes up year over year. Why did my mortgage go up $100 a month? And then you're like, oh, my taxes went up.
Yes, you are completely right, and that is the frustration of residents, that even though you're saying, and this is what I get, even though you're saying that the tax rate is the lowest that you have had since 2011, my taxes are still high. So unfortunately, we don't have any control on the on the assessments, and what other taxing bodies are doing, but. And the only thing that we can control is the tax rate, as Matt indicated. But it is frustrating because, yes, we're giving you a message, but the message doesn't align with the bill.
Right. I mean, all you guys control is what you levy, right? And then eventually you get an extension based on whatever witchcraft they do with the county. Yeah.
Mr. Nordstrom, may I speak?
Are you going to make a comment, or are you going to answer a question?
I'm going to make a comment.
Okay.
Okay. I looked at the tax assessment bills from 2017. I think they're P252. And our assessed taxes have been oscillating between 29 million and I believe 30 million since 2017. So we've essentially come very close to flatlining our taxes. So I think it's wrong to say they go up and they go up and they go up and they come down and they go up. And we achieved the pushing down through abatements. But we really, they're not just rising every year endlessly.
Thank you. And in partial response to your comments, I guess I've appreciated what Dr. Wilkinson has tried to do in his time here, which is to simplify the description and the levy versus the extension and all that, trying to help explain that we control what we control, but no matter what we do, if a property goes up dramatically or down dramatically, that's what the person is going to see and point to us for having done that, when in fact it's largely beyond our control. So, thank you. Mr. Foster, do you want to come up and say something?
I'm not sure if this is totally relevant, but you were at the presentation that Dave Nabel gave, if you remember? And I don't know if that, excuse me, I'm not sure if that specifically hits on everything that we're talking about here, but I know it hit on quite a bit of it, if I remember correctly from that. And it clarified things for me relative to how this all comes together, because it is quite complicated, I believe. There's a lot of factors that are involved in that. Do you remember that presentation?
Yes, I do.
And I think that he went into quite detail in terms of how it works. Now, we did a video on that, and it's on YouTube, so it's available, and it addressed the school situation as well. So, and I think that's, more information is better, basically. So, go to the NPDP one and you can see the video, and maybe it'll help you.
Maybe you can pin it at the top of your page.
Sure, or I can send it to Sherry if you want to attach that to, it's on ZB Cops. Okay, all of the videos are on ZB Cops. Problem solved. So if you go to cvcops.com and then go to the video link, pull down link, it'll be probably the last one. And there's like 6 or 7 of these since then. So, but he was very clear on his presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, there's nothing else? All right, do I have a motion to close the public hearing for the purpose of the 2024 tax levy?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Champagne, second by Ms. Steven. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Ms. Steven?
Aye.
Mr. Cook?
Aye.
Ms. Champagne? Aye. Mr. Benitez?
Aye.
Mr. Nordstrom?
Aye. Thank you. All right, it brings us to item H, the approval of 2024 certificate of tax levy and resolutions.
Thank you, President Nordstrom, and Board of Education. As was clarified through the hearing, we did talk about the levy being determination of need, and within that you have a certificate for proposed approval, as well as resolutions identifying where those funds be directed in specific funds throughout the resolution, the special education, the working cash and life safety, as well as the leasing levy, and throughout all those funds. So they're aligned. We have resolutions that will be assigned to those. If approved, we will get these levy certificates to the county clerk's office prior to December 31st and have it filed officially.
Okay. Thank you. Do I have a motion to accept the superintendent's recommendation to adopt the 2024 certificate of tax levy and individual resolutions at this November 19th regular meeting of the Board of Education?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Champagne, second by Ms. Steven. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Mr. Cook?
Aye.
Mr. Benitez?
Aye.
Ms. Champagne?
Aye.
Ms. Steven?
Aye.
Mr. Nordstrom?
Aye. Thank you. Next item, approval of FY 2025 Round 1 School Maintenance Project Grant Application. Dr. Wilkinson.
Yes, thank you, President Nordstrom and Board of Education. We have the opportunity again to apply for a school maintenance grant. You may recall we've done these over the last several years. This is a state program for facilities work, $50,000 matching grant. So if we do a $100,000 project, it'll be 50 cents on the dollar. The state will reimburse us half. And again, this is another reasoning why you have fund balance, so we can take advantage of it, so we have to pay out the money and then get reimbursement later. So what we're proposing to do is to continue our work through the HVAC process of classroom pneumatic actuators and dampers. You remember throughout the facility here, we still have some that are running on compressed air. We want to move that to electric. It'll be more efficient and will improve the overall air quality and efficiency. So with the approval tonight, we can get that submitted to the state before the end of December and become hopefully eligible for another grant this year.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion to accept the superintendent's recommendation to approve the FY 2025 Round 1 School Maintenance Project Grant Application as presented.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Benitez, second by Ms. Steven. Any questions? Keep our fingers crossed. Roll call, please.
Ms. Steven?
Aye.
Mr. Cook?
Aye.
Ms. Champagne?
Aye.
Mr. Benitez?
Aye.
Mr. Nordstrom?
Aye. Thank you. All right, other business, capital improvements update.
Yes, thank you, President Nordstrom and Board of Education. We have a notice for bidders that was in your packet. I'm pleased to say the planning as part of our 5-year financial plan as well as our facilities plan is to do some significant renovations in our libraries, in our music and art rooms this summer coming up. This is the notice to the bidders that we have submitted out to the street to bid. We're hoping, because we've taken advantage of this and got this out to the street early, and when I say early, before winter break, that we can get some competitive bids from contractors and get some really good pricing. We did intend to use the CJA funds for this, so remember there was a minority and women-owned business participation there, and we have highlighted that on our bid notice so that we are seeking those types of vendors to help meet our goal that was set by the state. So the bid opening is on this Thursday at 11 a.m. It'll be right here in this room. It'll also be offered virtually, so if I'm a vendor who's in another town and don't want to come to the actual bid opening, I can come in and we'll do a Teams meeting so they can hear the bids as they are read. So what we plan to do is get all the bids, have them vetted by our construction manager, Camozzi Construction, and then hopefully with everything looking good, we'll bring those bids back to the PDF committee in December, early December, and then for the December 17th board meeting, hopefully have a recommendation for approval. And again, this is all tied and connected because you've made your transfers and everything has been moved over now to the site and construction fund, so we'll be safe to award these bids knowing that we have the resources available. There is one component that is still missing. We have not heard back from the state on the CJA grant, but we are anticipating that we will definitely get that grant as well too. And again, we do have the resources within our fund balances to expend out and then wait for that money to come back in at a later time. So let's hope for good bids on Thursday, and let's hope we get a lot of them. So.
Anything else on capital improvements?
No, sir.
Okay. Other items under other business?
Yes, thank you, President Nordstrom and Board of Education. In your packet there, you can see is a notice from the Lake County Board of Review hearing notice. As you know, the City of Hope is seeking a tax exemption for their organization, which could have detrimental impact in the community in terms of tax revenue lost. So our attorney will be representing the district at that hearing to gather information, and I don't know that any statement will be made yet, but we were going to talk about that more as we got closer to that hearing. But I just wanted the board to be aware that that hearing is occurring on Thursday at 3 p.m. and that the board's attorney will be present to represent the Board of Education.
The dollar amount that's potentially affected by the decision to change their tax status is?
I've heard 5 million.
Yeah. The according to the city, it's around $5 million per year, which will have a significant impact on the taxpayer if approved.
So I guess more to come after the hearing and see what happens.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else?
No, sir.
Anything else?
I think it's important to know that we are working in collaboration with the city and other taxing bodies on this issue of the hospital in finding the best resolution. And also that with our CJA grant, we approved approximately 30% as promised. So we have done our part as a school district. We continue to listen, we continue to have collaborations between us as a board superintendent and others in finding the best solutions in keeping taxes as low as possible.
Okay. Thank you. All right, that brings us to closed session. Do I have a motion to go into closed session for consideration of appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees, and collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees or their representatives, or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Champagne. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Mr. Benitez?
Aye.
Ms. Champagne? Aye. Ms. Stevens?
Aye.
Mr. Cook?
Aye.
Mr. Nordstrom?
Aye. Thank you. And we'll be adjourning to closed session. Hopefully a relatively quick closed session. After a long night.
Good job.